Hello, collective. Welcome to the Moon Report. My name is Marlene, the modern mystic, and your resident moon goddess. I am so happy to be here sharing space, bringing you a full moon report in Gemini. And this is the first full moon after eclipse season. And I heard an astrologer earlier this week say that it's very much a reset, a new cycle for the collective. And I want you to just kind of take a moment and reflect where that's showing up for you. Where are you feeling a reset? Where are you feeling like a new cycle has begun? We're experiencing a kind of acceleration right now as a collective. But of course, it's showing up in different areas in our life. And we just came out of Scorpio season into Sagittarius season. So it's probably showing up where you, whatever house in your natal chart you had Scorpio. Now, if you're listening to me and you're like, what the hell is she talking about? I'm referring to your chart that shows where the stars, cosmos, planets were the moment that you were born, the location that you were born, the time you were born. And this is what determines what your sun sign is, what your rising sign, if you've heard that term, or your moon sign. And it really gives us a scope, a map as to how our life is destined or predestined to unfold. But we must remember that we're always evolving through this life. So even when we find things that are our tendencies, right? Or things that we're conditioned to do, or something that we may have picked up from our parents, or, these are things that we are constantly evolving through. Nothing is stationary in this life, meaning nothing is permanent. We are always transcending. And right now, we are experiencing an acceleration through a high level of transformation as the sun comes off of Scorpio into Sagittarius. And this full moon happened early morning, the 27th of November, yesterday, 4:16 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we probably were feeling the effects of this moon way before it happened, because it really came in with a strong energy around, again, I'm going to say it, relationships. I feel like I've been talking about relationships in these reports for months, but really it's because that's where things are being highlighted. And we are feeling this kind of transformation because of a lot of things that are happening simultaneously with this full moon. Now, Gemini as a sign is, fast to begin with, and it rules psychology and the way we communicate and the way we kind of connect and network, and, is the messenger. Mercury rules Gemini, and Mercury is the messenger, and Mercury moves fast. And Mercury is a big player in this full moon, not only because it's the ruling planet, but also because it is in Sagittarius right now in a pretty tricky placement. So we're going to talk about all of that, and we're going to begin with this transformation that we're coming off of in relationships. Now, you may have been feeling certain insights, certain revelations around relationships, and that's because Venus in Libra is coming very close, will be exact conjunct with the South Node on the 29th, but it's very close, during this time of the full moon as it comes exact, and will be till about the 30th. And, there is some deep healing that's happening with this placement, Venus being the goddess of love, ruling relationships, Libra being the sign of harmonious relationships, or aspiring towards balanced and harmonious relationships. And being that it's coming in contact with the South Node, which rules kind of our karmic past and where we came from, there is some deep healing within relationships, some letting go of deeply ingrained patterns that may or may not be conscious to you yet. And they have been running for quite some time because they may be coming up in this lifetime. But if there's a relationship that is being highlighted in your life right now, it probably has karmic ties to previous lifetimes. And what that just means is that these patterns that I'm talking about are deeply ingrained in contracts that go beyond your scope of understanding. And this release that you're being asked to kind of do here has to do with a lot of karma playing itself out in these current relationships. And I've had conversations with some friends this week, and we've been talking about timelines. And I think that this is a good time to bring up timelines, being that we're talking about past lives. Now, whether you buy into past lives or not, keep an open mind here with me. And what we were talking about was having these moments of like not being like kind of losing for a second exactly where we are. Like maybe as you're falling asleep and you're in that twilight moment and you're in your living room, but all of a sudden you kind of felt for a moment you were back in your childhood room, or being somewhere else, maybe staying at a hotel or being on vacation, and then all of a sudden feeling like you're back home, um, or experiencing something that you did as a child. And that's what I mean about these timelines kind of skipping around. It could be showing up in your dream space as well. So pay attention to your dreams and see what is coming up, um, from the past, or what relationships are being highlighted because they probably have deep ties to the past. So the idea here being that the South Node is in Libra and the North Node being right across from it in Aries. The idea is that something must change if there is a relationship showing up that needs transformation, that it's playing out some really toxic patterns, that is kind of at its end of its rope, or could be coming to an end or looking that way. you know think Aries when you're implementing the changes that you want. And what I mean about that is think about how your personal identity and your desires are being met in this relationship, and if they're even being met. And also stepping into what you want and need from the relationship or for yourself, and being able to claim that with certainty and confidence. Boundaries are a big player right now that need to be honored. And if you're not honoring them, or somebody else isn't, around this time of the Venus conjunct to South Node, stay aware, because we don't have all the information. I'll be talking about it a little bit later, but there is a lot of illusion that's coming with this full moon. And a lot of like what you're seeing may not be exactly what you're seeing. So go slow, review. There's a lot of confusing energy. Dot your T's. I mean, dot your I's, cross your T's, and step into releasing whatever is not in alignment with you, and having yourself a real deep, honest conversation with yourself, with others, whoever needs to be talked to. But if you're carrying baggage or carrying weight into this new cycle, that is going to blow up in some shape or form, because the universe is really not supporting the relationships that are not built on a foundation of authenticity and of truth. It is not a vibration that is going to be favorable, and it's going to your scenarios and circumstances will continue to come up to show you that. So this is why we meet here every other week to talk about the tendencies that the stars are letting us know, that the cosmos are communicating to us, so that we can have a heads up and stay aware as we're moving through the next few weeks, and being extremely, extremely discerning about what's showing up in front of you and how are these themes playing out. That's why we're here. That's what at least what my intention is every time I come here. So use these insights to stay aware. Acknowledge the people that are showing up for you, because whether the situation is negative or positive, just to label it somehow, um, it's still showing up as a soul contract, and it's still showing up as an agreement that must be moved through. So find, or at least attempt to find, a space of gratitude for the relationship that is showing up, or relationships plural. Because this is a painful process and there's grief, whether the relationship is an intimate one, or it's a friendship, or it's your sibling, or anybody. There is a certain amount of grief that goes along with dealing with difficult things and adjusting. First of all, having the courage to acknowledge it, then having the power to then either adjust what needs to be healed or stepping away. And we're finding, there's a lot of us finding ourselves in that space right now, that we've outgrown certain situations, certain circumstances. And that's okay. That's okay, because how I started this conversation, I want to bring that back. We are constantly evolving. If there's anything that's constant, it's change. We will transform, we will transmute, we will change. So let's flow and stay aware of that, so that we can then direct the energy where we want to, in the direction of our dreams and desires, co-creating with the universe, if that is what is at the highest level of healing and vibration for us. So what do you want to focus on? What energy is it that you want to bring to you in this new cycle? I was talking about Mercury a little bit ago, and being that Mercury in Sagittarius is, you know, the conversation there with Mercury is like very dogmatic. Sag is a lot of fun, but Sag also, it thinks they know everything. It's like the know-it-all of the zodiac, super self-centered in the end. And it could get egotistical. So it happens. They're a lot of fun, a lot of fun, love adventure, love learning, and but also like to be right all the time, and it gets annoying. And the conversation there with Mercury gets into those spaces of dogma and of the one truth. And with this full moon in Gemini, it's kind of our work here to release those parts inside of us that think like we know it all, or we know the truth, because that's where we begin to feel trapped in illusion of our own making. And, it gets confusing, but it also is of our own making. So, what does that mean? We can step out of that illusion as soon as we allow ourselves to see beyond ourselves, right? And the circumstance that holds us down and the environment that's keeping you in a certain place. So, release the story. Release the story. What's the story? What's the story that keeps playing? What's the story that's keeping you down? If you haven't really looked at that story, you've only told yourself that story. Well, why don't we just slow down and stop and really take a look at it and see what is beneath all of that? What is deeper within that story, so that we can just face it and then act, whether that act is moving on, whether acting means having a conversation, whether acting means, creating a pivot in your life. However, the change looks for you, taking a risk, whatever way it's showing up for you, use the light of this full moon. Allow yourself to see it, own it, and then you can really release it. Because if you don't own your story, you'll never be able to let it go. It wasn't even yours to begin with unless you own it. So go take ownership. That really helps in accepting and inviting compassion and inviting love for yourself and for others, whether that means that you have to make hard decisions, you have to let go of something that's really, really important, you're pivoting your life and going in a completely new direction. We are here for it, collective. We are here for it. And the universe is supporting that as long as it's something better, greater, more life enhancing, more joyful, and more in alignment with who you are. So enjoy this full moon. Stay, I don't know, maybe relax. I know it's hard to relax during a Gemini full moon. I mean, how are you guys sleeping? You know, check in, check in with yourselves, because it could be some nervous energy going on, but try to enjoy it. I don't know, get creative. Gemini loves to get creative, get grounded, get outside, um dive into a delicious book, um meditate if you can, move your body, and just really check in check in with yourselves, because also, before I go, Mercury is gearing up for a retrograde happening December 13th. So we are already in pre-shadow of that. Stay aware. What I mean by pre-shadow is the themes will start showing up. The themes that are going to be coming up during the retrograde for us to review, restructure. Okay. So stay aware, journal. I keep wanting to say journal throughout this whole conversation. And, you know, um, if you don't have a journaling practice, consider consider a journaling practice. Consider it not only grounds you in the moment, so that you can, kind of dump all your thoughts in onto the page, and that is a transformation in itself, but it also keeps a measure, like, I don't, some of you probably already know, but I just finished my first book. It was a multi-author book that is going to be launching at the beginning of next year. And as I am going through my past journals and my past agendas and stuff, I cannot tell you how many times I wrote about writing a book, how many lists of like acts of power I wanted to, how many times I repeated writing a book, and if I could, and if I couldn't, and if I was enough, and no, I can, and in my whole struggle with the idea of actually being able to, and here I am pinching myself about to publish. So it's also a great way to measure, because it kind of reminds you how when you have intention and when you have a great desire and a belief in yourself, the act of writing something down, bringing it from your mind onto paper, is the first step of you manifesting that in your life. So take tonight, if you haven't already, and jot down some ideas, jot down some things that may be running through your mind. Don't edit. If they're ridiculous, let them be ridiculous. We're all crazy. It's not a competition. It's cool. All right, collective. I love you so much. Mwah. Till the new moon. I will see you then. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Ciao.